Hey, 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 Dayton, Ohio. And with me today, Jocelyn with Sunshine Therapeutics. I don't know how she chose that name, but she is definitely one of the sunniest and shiniest people in Dayton. So, this is how I always see her, and this is how I always describe her to people. You're going to meet the nicest person in Dayton, Ohio today. And she is with us today because I asked her to talk about fascia. And if you just said, what? That's exactly why she's here to just shed some light and shed some sunshine on fascia, which is still pretty new in the movement world. And but it makes a lot of difference when you know what fascia is and what to do with it and what not to do with it. So, welcome, Jocelyn. Let's just start this conversation by giving you a platform to speak a little bit more about yourself and how you got into this fascia world.
Sure. Well, actually, the name of the business came because of my training with John Barnes with myofascial release. And the first series that I took with him was 3 classes over 9 days. And at the end of that 9 days of 8+ hours a day of myofascial release treatment, giving and receiving, John Barnes was doing a release on the back of my skull in the occiput area. And when he finished, he said, "How do you feel?" And I said, "I feel like I drank a cup of sunshine." Because it
Aww.
was so amazing once I learned what the fascial tissue was, how to work with it, how it impacts our body. And once you understand that, you know how to release it when it gets tight and restricted. And when you open up that door of fascial freedom, oh my goodness, you really do feel like you drank a cup of sunshine. So that that was how I started my myofascial release journey and exploring fascia that I had gone through occupational therapy school and done all the labs, cadaver labs, and we just cut through this really thick, dense, hard tissue to get to the muscles and the organs and the bones and the nerves and all of that, but we ignored the solidifying factor that encompassed everything in our body and was everything in our body. And once I realized what fascia is and how much it impacts the body, it opened up a whole new light in treating. And that's where John Barnes says myofascial release is the missing, the missing component to treatment. And it really is, because it affects our body, because it is what our body is made up of. Everything from our skin to our veins, our nerves, our lymphatic system, to our muscles, to our bones and our organs is all made up of fascia. We are just huge fascia bubbles walking around at various densities. And all of that fascia, most importantly, has to have water flowing through it. And I know you have said many, many times, when you speak, that you've got to keep hydrated, and you have to keep hydrated because we are over, they say 80% water, but really we're 100% water. Every single part of us needs water in order to survive and to move. And if you don't have that water, you have rigidity and you can't move sometimes. And believe it or not, often we think about fascia in terms of the muscles, but it's our organs too. And if our organs don't get that hydration, that fluidity, they're going to get tight. Yes, they're going to get tight and they're not going to be able to function. And everything in the body needs to expand and contract, and it needs water in order to do that. So our fascial tissue is, as I said, it's various densities in our body, starting with the very superficial, our skin. And a neat experiment to do to see, our skin is a onesie on our body, how we are so connected. And it's a huge fascial sheath. And, when you make a fist and you try to grab your skin, you can't. When you open up that fist and you let your hand move, then you can easily grab that skin. But if you grab that skin and once again you try to close your fist, it causes pain. That's the fascial tissue. Whenever the fascia gets tight, when you try to move, it's going to hurt, just like it does on your hand. So you've got your superficial layer, the skin. You go below the skin and you have your muscles, and that's just a denser form of fascial tissue. And inside that muscle, there is thin striations of fascia that runs all the way through it, because the job is it has to run through it. And what fascia looks like, I have a DVD of stretches I'm going to hold up so you can see.
Yes.
That is what fascia looks like inside of the body. It's just beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And if you're somebody who's really techie and you want to know like her physics related, I'm going to share the screen here for a moment, and I'm going to show you the video of, so I'm going to share my screen with you here, and I'm going to click on a video that's called, and bear with me as, yep, leave that site as I do this.
You're doing great.
Oh, thank you. This is, you know, it's not always my forte is technology, but this video right here, and forgive me when I scroll down, I'm trying to pull up another video that I'm going to go to the YouTube page. There's a video called Strolling Under the Skin.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've ever watched that, if you're a person who's like, hey, I really want to know what does fascia look like? How does it move? This one is great for showing you how does it work. I'm going to go to my YouTube channel here real quick, because I have under my playlists. Actually, I'm going to make life easy. I'm going to go right to my myofascial release page at Sunshine Therapeutics, and under what is fascia is watch Strolling Under the Skin. So really easy tab for you to get to. And you'll see in this, as I scroll forward, like that is what the fascial tissue looks like inside of your body. And in this video, she shows, and they talk about how much everything is so related and pulls on each other. So if you really need a good demo of what does it look like, what does fascia look like, how does it affect the whole body, this is 9 minutes long. It's the second part of Strolling Under the Skin. And it's a really, really awesome video. So I'm going to go back now just to not share, if I can figure that one out, and unshare. So I'll click off of that. But let's see. Oh, now I may be stuck.
Ooh.
Oh, wait, no, there we go. Stop share. Okay. So that's a really great video if you want to see what does the fascia look like inside of you and how does it pull. So you've got your skin, then you have your muscles. As I said, even down to your veins, your nerves, your arteries, your lymphatic system, that's all a fascial sheath. And then go into your organs. All of your organs are just fascia. That inside those organs, we've got peristalsis going through the intestinal tract to push things along. And it's that fascial tissue that's pushing all the way down to the cellular level.
Yeah.
Why is that important? Because every cell is surrounded by a little bit, has fascia surrounding it, and it has fascia inside of it. And that's where the fascia can, when it gets restricted, can affect your overall health in terms of illnesses, because the fascia is our body's communication system throughout the rest of the body. It is faster than your central nervous system, faster than your brain talking to your muscles. It is instant. And one of the three functions that it has is to support, to stabilize, and to suspend. So it supports our body's structure and standing, it stabilizes us, and it suspends all of our organs. Fascia, also has memory, and it's our body's protective system. So when we get injured, and we'll talk about the effects, three ways fascia is affected, but when we get injured, that fascial tissue is awesome at tightening up. So say you sprain your ankle really quick, something comes in and says, wrap around that ankle, protect it, don't let it move, let the lymphatic fluid come on in there and support it. And the fascial tissue is going to keep us safe. That's its job. The fascia wants to keep us safe. And sometimes when we lose range of motion, when we have pain, we think our body is attacking us. We're like, why is my body doing this to me? But really, your body is your best friend, and that fascial tissue is saying, something's not right, and I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to prevent you from hurting yourself further. And so that's the role of the fascial tissue, is to keep you safe.
That's interesting because everything that you just described, it's also referred to nervous system as well.
Mm-hmm.
So like what is the main distinguishing points between them? Because I know fascia is a relatively new subject.
Right.
It's probably like what 10, 15 years ago something they started kind of exploring it. And
Yeah.
nervous system has been around for a while, been studied, not have been
Right.
around, but have been studied. And this is how, again, many books and movement professionals describe the nervous system. It's the job to protect. This is the nervous system communicates, but is it communicating based on communication from fascia then?
It's a combination, because it's more, I would say the fascia, when the body goes into fight, flight, or freeze, that autonomic nervous system response that they're not safe, the fascia is like, I'm on it.
Okay.
And that is like the physical component to the nerves impulsing and saying, okay, you got to protect, something's not right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And the thing with the fascial tissue, just like with the central nervous system, is it has an incredible memory. And sometimes that memory is so strong, it doesn't know how to let go.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're not in tune and aware of what's going on in your body,
Mm-hmm.
you can just develop all these bracing and holding patterns that restrict you physically and mentally
Mm-hmm.
as your body continues to try to protect. So that's the tricky part, is how do you release the fascial tissue?
Yeah, that was my next question.
Yes. And so
Okay.
no, there's three components of how the fascial tissue gets restricted. First is your cumulative trauma. All right, your everyday habits, how you sit, how you sleep, the requirements of your work. And do you get locked in the same pattern all the time? Is somebody sitting at an office chair always leaning off to the side and talking on a phone, or are they always bent forward as they're trying to watch? Do they always sleep on their right side with their legs all curled up and their hands, in this type position? So
Mm-hmm.
cumulative traumas can
Mm-hmm.
most definitely lead to fascial restrictions, because your body is learning how to hold and brace in that position.
But we also can say that it's the muscles, what they're also adapting to those positions. And since fascia is all around the muscles, they kind
Well,
of,
and remember, Julia, that fascia is the muscle. Muscle is fascia, because fascia is connective tissue,
yes.
and
Uh-huh.
muscles connect everything
Yes.
and support us. So that was one of the biggest things that shifted my whole perspective of the unity of the body, is that it really is all fascia that has that same ability to restrict and bulge up and to prevent fluid from flowing through it. Is just all at various densities. So rather than thinking of a muscle with fascia around it, an organ with fascia around it, it's all one. It's all interrelated, because you could have a muscle, like, okay, so say this is just a whole muscle here, and that fascia is going to intertwine all around it, and just everything works together.
So while you're talking about it, and I'm not like super familiar with this model, but I hear it's kind of like, again, new thing out there, but I haven't taken time to explore. It's the model of tensegrity. Have you heard
Exactly.
of
And
it?
that's
Is
actually
it
in.
kind of based on that
Yep.
new fascia exploration?
Yes. And that's actually in the Strolling Under the Skin Part 2
Oh,
video. At the
okay.
very start of it, they talk about tensegrity and
Okay.
everything pulls on itself.
Yes, yes. And
Yes.
this is because of that newer discovery of fascia and how everything relates through it. That's
Yep.
how it became transegrity model.
Exactly.
So what
Yep.
else do you know about the transegrity model and the fascia?
And that
Is it,
actually,
why is it important for us to have that model?
well, to understand that where you're having the pain may not be the cause. And
Yes,
that is the
hallelujah to that.
biggest, yeah, that's like the biggest component of it, because my right shoulder could hurt because my pelvis is off or
Mhm,
my jaw is off,
mhm,
not because this right shoulder hurts. But
mhm,
when, much like, so I have a little rubber glove here,
mhm,
and I do this demo every so often where I put the rubber glove on,
mhm,
and somebody comes to me and says, I'm having a really hard time opening up my fingers. And they're like, I keep trying to stretch my fingers and stretch my fingers. But the problem may be that if there's a fascial restriction right here,
mhm,
it's going to pull on her fingers, so she can stretch her fingers all she wants.
mhm,
But the restriction at her wrist from that carpal tunnel surgery is
mhm,
not going to let her. And if I come up closer, you can see how tight
mhm.
that is,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But if I release down here where she had the carpal tunnel surgery, and
Mhm,
oftentimes, even with carpal tunnel, it's something going on up in the neck. It's not
mhm,
necessarily something going on in the hand. So that's where tensegrity and understanding it, how much everything controls. You hurt your big toe and it could affect your neck. And
mhm,
when you understand that, you stop chasing the pain and you look for the cause.
mhm.
Yes.
Stop chasing the pain and look for the cause. Yes, that's a very profound statement. And I'm sure you're familiar with, is it Stop Chasing Pain guy?
No, I've not.
You don't know? It's
Uh-uh.
like his name just left me, but I'll remember by the end of the presentation. And he just wrote a book, which also sold out. There are no editions available, um, but I'm sure they'll make more. But it's called Stop Chasing Pain,
Okay.
and he is all about the nervous system.
Okay.
So, and obviously, yes, that's also one of his statements. That's why his whole movement and his website and everything is called Stop Chasing Pain.
Ah,
And
okay.
the name
I'll
of
have to
the book
check
is
that
the
out.
same. Yeah, so I have to check his name.
And I should tell you, there's another video I'm going to share with you that do
Mhm.
that whole screen share fun thing again.
Yeah.
That if you want to see how does the fascial tissue affect the body,
Okay.
um, there is another video here, if I get this one right, um, that that you can look at. Sorry about, let's see,
No, that's fine.
favorite videos that I have is this gal that has a guy right here, posture and chronic pain with Dana Sterling. And whoops, of course, there's an ad for everything, right? So we'll skip the ad. But she has absolutely a fabulous video. I'll fast forward it here to the part that I really like that she shows. Right about, oh goodness.
Neil Pearson.
So here, like your cumulative traumas,
Oh,
she
yes.
shows how that helps. But in her video, she goes on to really show how what happens when you move and the fascial tissue gets stuck. So she's one, posture and chronic pain, Dana Sterling, that I definitely recommend watching her video. It's 15 minutes, but it
Mhm.
really shows that interconnection and the
Mhm.
tensegrity of everything.
Yeah, and
So,
his name is Neil Pearson.
oh, okay.
Stop Chasing Pain. Well, yes, and I was following Gail Hadley, who also
Uh-huh.
talks a lot about fascia, known as a fascia guy, and he does
Yes.
cadaver
Yeah.
labs. So, and that's how he was describing it. So, when you move and move in a variety of ways, and he's very fun about it, so your fascia is moving and everything is like loose and fluid and smooth, and
Uh-huh.
nothing pulls on anything because you're just this fluid motion. Uh,
Right.
but when you stop moving, so then you just become tighter and tighter and tighter, and any movement becomes like a whole ordeal. And this,
Yes,
so that just like you said, the fascia becomes stuck.
it
And
does.
I guess because we don't move it, that's why there is no lubrication. There is no that water passages going through. Because I
Yes.
guess from what I see, it's not just water, but it's our ability to move in a variety of ways, which creates all that fluidity, I guess, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that's why I always tell people, especially lately, since we're going through coronavirus, and hopefully
Yes.
in a few years we'll be watching this, and we'll be like, whew, okay. But that's what I tell. Socializing has been taken away from us, and this is what defines us as humans. But what we have in control of is our movement, because
Yes.
that's another great ability that we have that defines us as humans.
Yes.
So please move and let your fascia breathe and
Yes.
flow.
It does. And, so you've got your cumulative traumas that will restrict your fascia. Then you have your physical traumas. When you've fallen, when you've gotten in car accidents, you've cut yourself, broken a bone, any of those things, you've got that physical trauma, which creates scar tissue, which is fascia, just at a much more denser, thicker level.
Mhm.
And but remember, the key component with any physical trauma that causes a fascial restriction, most often there's the most important thing that affects the fascia is the emotional trauma.
Oh, really?
Because remember, it is the fascia is a protective system.
Oh, yes.
And
Uh-huh.
this is where the central nervous system comes in, because since it's this protective system, the body, if it associates one activity with one event with another event, it's going to say tighten up, protect. So if somebody was doing, like, they were outside playing basketball and they're shooting the hoop, and all of a sudden, wham, they get a hamstring tear. Even after that hamstring has totally healed and the doc says, yep, you're good to go, you're not going to tear this again, guaranteed when they go back out onto that court, they're going to have an emotional trauma that's going to restrict their movement because they're afraid it's going to happen again. And that can hold true even with the stresses that people may be feeling right now with the economic changes because of coronavirus,
Mhm.
with that inability to get out to do what their normal things are, is you have that emotional stress.
Yeah.
And your body, your mind could be in fight, flight, or freeze, which is telling your body, tighten up, protect.
Mhm.
The tricky part is how do you know, is this a cumulative trauma, a physical trauma, or is this an emotional trauma?
Yeah, how do you know?
The easiest way is when you're stressed, you will feel that area of your body.
Wow.
So when I get stressed, I automatically start feeling my throat tighten up a little bit.
Yeah, me too.
So, that tells me not during that crisis period when I'm in fight, fight, or freeze. I don't say, oh, okay, I want to open up, I want to let go. I acknowledge that, okay, my stress is held right here. This is when I get nervous, when I get scared, when I overwhelmed, wham, it goes right to my throat. So whenever I do a stretch, I hold it. Fascial tissue takes at least 2 minutes to start to change. So this is where listening to your body comes in so handy. So if I'm doing a stretch of my neck, as I hold this stretch, I may have a meditation on that talks about opening up my throat, allowing my voice to come out, taking in words and not getting defensive with them, seeing them as learning opportunities, reclaiming my power if I'm feeling powerless, so that this area of my body doesn't continue to do that stressful response. So
Hmm.
that's how, since the fascial tissue has memory, that's how we can shift that memory so that the fascial tissue doesn't hang on. Now, this can be incorporated during your stretches, during a meditation, but especially if you're moving and you're doing your exercises and you're getting really nervous that, oh no, I'm going to hurt myself. I don't think like, oh, if I do this, that's where you take that moment to pause and you breathe and you tell yourself, I am safe. Whatever I have gone through, I have survived. I am safe. Thank you, body, for protecting me. Once again, living in awareness and gratitude so that the fascial tissue doesn't feel like it has to hold on and protect you. It can let down the guards. It can send the troops home.
So, and you're saying that fascia understands the commands that you're sending to it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because remember, the fascial tissue and the central nervous system work together.
Yeah.
And if that central nervous system is saying, we're under attack, protect, the fascial tissue is going to protect, and it's not going to let go. And the longer, if you have had pain and you're afraid of moving, the longer you stay still, the more strength that fascial tissue gets to protect you. Because that fear keeps building up, and it's like a shield, this protective bubble all the way around you, because you don't feel safe. So once we can convince our fascia, convince our heart, our soul, our mind that we have survived, we are safe, then our fascial tissue it's giving the fascia tissue permission to soften and let go.
Yes, exactly. And yeah, stress is obviously one of the huge components. And I know in my experience, so if I'm stressed, then I get my usual like throat sensations and whatever. But then I go on vacation, right? Everything goes away like that. Like, oh, hello, body. You responded to the stress. So you're trying to make connections and
and movement exercise is such a great way to release those natural endorphins, to let the body know, hey, I am safe. And there is a time I taught a class on to stretch it, to strengthen it, or leave it alone.
Oh, yes, that's great.
Trying to understand, like, when do I need to rest and let my body heal? When do I need to dive in and exercise and get that heart pumping and get those endorphins going to say yes? And when do I need to like stretch and tell my body, listen, it's okay to move? And I look at them as stages. It's like there's rest, and then there's stretching, and then there's exercise. And yes, there can be a blend, but if what you're doing isn't working, you got to try another way.
Exactly.
And I think a lot of times when people get into that protective mode and their fascial tissue is tight and they're having things like fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue and indigestion and heartburn, all of that stuff, and back pain and neck pain, their fascial tissue is saying, you are not in harmony. I am working so hard to try to keep you safe. Try something new, because this isn't working for us. But we have a tough time letting go of our norm. We feel like
the universe is taking care of that fact for sure.
It is. It is, because we won't take that step to say, I'm going to make a change. And, if we don't take that step, something drastic happens, because our body can only do so much. And we know it. Like, in our heart, we know that we're pushing our limits. We can't do that much. But for whatever reason, we don't. So,
because I think we like to hold on to things, and that's what makes the fascia tight. So people,
I know. Well, and I have a lot of people that
the fascia.
And they don't exercise smart. They don't think about their form. They don't think about what's best to their body. It's, the runner that doesn't want to stop running because that's their stress relief. Well, if it's hurting you though, it's not helping you, and something else needs to be evaluated. So, but the I let go part is a huge component to myofascial release. To say that is easy, to do it is really, really tough.
Exactly.
To acknowledge that something isn't working and I need to say, I let go.
Well, and I think also as a culture, and especially like all those people, after 40 or so, in our culture, in our medical system, everything tells you you're supposed to feel like that as you're
Mhm.
getting old.
And yeah,
And that's a crazy statement. It's just like taking power out of people.
yeah,
And a lot of people use that as an excuse instead
yep.
of doing something. Oh no, this is my age. This is how I'm supposed
Hmm.
to feel. And just like you said, look at the form, look at the exercising. Like I had the conversation at the gym before I closed with an older gentleman. Um, and he's like, oh, I come here every day and whatever, every other day. And he exercises, but you can, give him some tips on form, but he doesn't ask for it. But we have a talk,
Yeah, there is
have
something
a
good you
talk,
learn.
and I gave him a lecture that, do you really think it's because of the age and all of that? And I just told him, well, how much time do you spend on mobility, the joint mobility, before you come and do your strength training? What do you mean by that? And
Yeah,
I suddenly opened the world of mobility for him. So he
yeah.
went home and did the research and did the homework, and he came, he's like, you know what you said about the last time, I thought about it, I researched it, it makes sense. Like, well,
Yeah,
I have to do it.
yeah,
Yeah, that makes sense. Because yeah, he doesn't move as well because he doesn't do anything else.
right.
He's retired, but he's conveniently using the word, I'm old, I'm supposed to be like that.
Hmm.
But do
And there are changes that do happen, and I'm only 42 right now, but I find it so fascinating the changes that are occurring in my body, but by no means do those limit me.
yeah,
They open up new doors to try new avenues, and just respect. Most important, I think, is just that respect of when your body says this doesn't feel right, don't
mhm,
do it. Try an alternative way, or seek out somebody that can give you that guidance to
exactly.
know how to do something safely.
Mhm,
And that's where I'm a huge advocate. If you run, if you bike, if you golf, if you swim, take some private lessons, or
mhm.
consult with someone like yourself, Julia, that's really studied the body and can look and say, do you realize you're overusing this part of your body? Because that's that cumulative trauma that can really come and tighten up the fascial tissue, and you don't
Exactly.
even realize
Exactly.
it. But it also takes, with stretches, there's three types of stretches, as you know. There's the dynamic stretches, the static place and hold, and there's the corrective stretches, which are the myofascial release stretches, where you're changing that tissue memory. And hands down, a lot of people do the dynamic stretches before they exercise, a lot don't.
Yeah.
Then there's the static place and hold, which my rule of thumb is always 10 minutes for every hour of working. And then at the end of the day, or at the beginning of the day, it's time to do the corrective stretches to shift and change that fascial tissue so that it doesn't want to keep holding on. And that's a stretch that you hold for 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes while communicating with your body, listening to a meditation, breathing. Oh my goodness. As you and I have talked about so
Yeah.
many times before, just taking that moment to breathe and use the diaphragm. And oh my gosh, if everybody took 10 minutes to just lay on their back, put their feet up, and breathe for 10 minutes, they would see such a world of
Yeah.
difference.
And I'm with you on that. But of course, what excuse we hear, I'm sure you've heard them too. I don't have time.
Yeah. And that's part of this shift. I think, what's going on right now in the world, we've gotten to so much of an extreme of go, 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 that this is like a huge shift of no, you got to start looking in the mirror. You've got to start slowing down, focusing on yourself, focusing on the family, and doing what is right for you.
Yeah, self-care is definitely important for
Yes.
us to stay well and
Yeah.
feel well and maintain our body so that we don't use an excuse. No,
Yeah.
I'm old, that's why I'm supposed to feel like that. But what about your investment into your
Right.
body, investment of time, sometimes investment of money, sometimes investment of practices? So
Yeah.
if you're not investing, then what are you expecting?
Right. And I will say, I always honor though that there are periods in our life where we are just hanging on. That, you know, when I had my girls back to back and my life was so flipped upside down, and you know, I wanted to have the time to exercise. I wanted the time to stretch, but
Yeah.
I was so exhausted taking care of them, even though I loved it. I mean, I love my girls to death, and I
Yeah.
voluntarily chose to be a mother, and I'm glad I did. It's a great experience. But during that, and I'm not going to lie, it was like like almost 3 to 5 year period. My girls are 4 and 6 now. And I feel like now I am finally starting to be able to give myself that time and to get my body back, get my mind back. I'm sleeping better. So there are those periods where you're in survival mode.
Yes.
And that's where I talked about not pushing yourself and listening to your body, because when you push and you're forcing yourself, you're forcing something to happen, that's just going to make that fascial tissue tighten up. And it's not going to just tighten your muscles, it's going to tighten around your heart, it's going to tighten around your stomach, suffocating all of those organs. They're not going to be able to function. Your immune system isn't going to be able to function. And even though you think you're helping yourself, you're not.
Yeah.
And I really am grateful that during that time I had awesome supports as yourself, Julia, and just so many people reminding me that, you know, you're in survival mode. My priority at that point was my girls. And I needed to take a little time for myself, but I couldn't have the huge chunks of time that I had before I became a parent. So, you know, if you're not able to get out and move, don't beat yourself up, because there's no benefit ever in beating yourself up, and you'll know when the right time is. And you know, I think this virtual communication is so much more. It's not as personal. Of course, I'd love to be in the same room as you. But it does open up those doors for when somebody is in that period of time when it's not easy to drive to a location because they don't have that time. Or, you know, I can video chat while my girls are sleeping, but I can't leave the house. So this is yet one of those other avenues that could really be a benefit to people if they need somebody to keep motivating them to meditate, to stretch, to exercise, to eat better, whatever it is you're struggling with. Having these video conversations once a week or whatever works for you, even if it's for 15 minutes, to keep you motivated, to keep you sane, is a great option.
Yeah, so and that's why I like you, because Jocelyn's always positive, and you haven't counted how many times she said in this interview that's been about 30 minutes, the door of opportunity, the options, the changes, the door of opportunity. So, because I think when she studies fascia and sees all this world, and there are like so many opportunities, it's just like if you pull here, something else is going to adjust everywhere, and if you pull here, something else is going to open up somewhere. So that's why you probably look at the world as that fascia.
Yeah.
Everything is fluid.
Yes, it is. And that's how we want life to be.
Exactly, yes. Fluid life, that things just moving, and they're moving in all the directions that they need to go. That's excellent. Well, so tell us.
Thank you for this. Oh, I was just going to say thank you. This has been wonderful to share my passion. And
well, I wanted to ask you now, so you as a practitioner, so because there are not many myofascial release practitioners that I know of, so how can you help people get connected with their body and perhaps also release some pains and aches?
Sure. Well, if you go to my website, I love to do resources. And so if you go to sunshinetherapeutics.com, and I'm going to move our little bubble over here. So there is a page for self-treatment that you can click on, and there's a lot of information in there, as well as a stretching video at the bottom. And of
Mm-hmm.
course, there is a complete online program called the Voyage to Heal that puts together everything that I've ever wanted to tell people.
Oh,
And that's an online membership that it addresses every area of the body. And of course, it's going to ask for my password, which I probably should have put on the screen, but whatever, you all can see it. And um, so once you go log on and you go into the Voyage to Heal lifetime membership, you just click on a chapter, and it has stretches with each area has you choose a stretch by watching a video, or you can just go into my favorite 3 stretches that I
uh-huh.
absolutely love, and then there's a meditation to listen to, as well as journaling options, a daily task to keep your perspective in place, and postural corrections, so treating the cumulative traumas
Mm-hmm.
of everything, including postural straps. And then, of course, Julia, there's
Yeah.
exercises, core activation, and
Oh,
pelvic floor, with a video that goes along with that just the same. And then, of course, picture demonstrations and insights and recommended readings and songs. So I love to educate, of course, and so I put my heart and soul into putting this together and making it a 12-step process that you can
very good.
continue to heal at home.
So how much is the membership?
The lifetime membership is $199, and I'm also doing a weekend Voyage to Heal excursion where we go through every chapter, focusing on the metaphysical and really shifting our mind and healing our soul in order to heal our body. And those are scheduled for August 28th and 9th, and January 22nd and 30th of
Oh,
2021.
wow.
So yeah, so that's coming up. But as I said, I just love to educate, and the Voyage
Yeah.
to Heal was created as part of my own healing journey when I was going through a really, really tough time. And it is spiritual, it's not religious, but it really is seeing the beauty in you and seeing God inside of you as one of the driving healing forces in getting well.
Yes, connecting with your own spirit, with the
Yes.
spirit within you. That's
Yeah.
excellent. So you're very resourceful and very creative, and obviously very passionate about fascia. So I
Yeah.
guess you found your niche, you found your thing.
But
Like,
it's always changing, it's always expanding, and that's the cool part about the online membership is I'm constantly adding new resources that I've found. And every week I do a Voyage to Heal weekly tasks, and I'm actually going to start this Saturday doing a 3 o'clock 15-minute free stretching session. So I will have that posted on the website to click on the link. So I'm embracing technology. Thank you,
is it
Julia, for educating me.
is it going to be available to all or just to
It
the
will be.
members?
It will be available to everybody. Yes.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, and you can always check on the blog post every week. There's a stretch and exercise, a habitual change, and a perspective enlightenment that I write on. So
Okay, very nice.
yeah,
So your blog is on your website.
it is. Yep.
Excellent, excellent. That sounds great.
Yes.
So how many members do you have so far?
So far, we have about 50 people that are a part of the Voyage to Heal, and there's a comment section where you can share your insights, other resources. I realize there's so many people that we can all benefit from. So I try
Exactly.
to create a community on there.
Yes, yes. So people can actually communicate kind of with each other within.
Right.
Oh, wow,
Yeah.
that's excellent. Look at that. You're so technological. You have to teach me that soon.
You've taught me a lot.
Excellent.
I'll teach you that.
Yes, I would love that.
So,
Um, okay, so and everything you mentioned, I'm sure that in your session, since it's related to emotion and trauma, so you probably have a lot of people who release through
yes.
tears, I'm sure.
Yes.
Is that
Yeah.
kind of normal thing to expect?
It is, but everybody responds differently,
Yeah.
and releases can come during a session.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes, things do come up that can strike emotions, but that's your body's healing and doing the I let go.
Mhm.
So during a session, most often people just say they feel so much peace,
Mhm.
more than they've ever felt in so long,
Oh, yeah.
that they're able to actually rest because their body is saying, I've survived, I am safe, I let go.
Excellent. That's exactly what we need. And I think it's a
Yes.
perfect segue to end our conversation.
Yeah.
And if you are looking, and if you don't know you're looking or needing, you do. We all need to let go, to release, and just appreciate a body as a
Yeah.
gift that's been given to us by this higher power that put this amazing body together that we're still researching over so many years. And we just found fascia, and who knows what else we can find to support fascia or something else. We just need to tap into our resources, our own resources, our resources in the community, and just help our body function well and be well and move well. So do not use an excuse you're getting old. Just a little bit, okay? Yeah, that's changes. You're allowed to do a little bit, but just ask yourself another question with a door of opportunity, right? And the question is, what is it that I have been doing that getting me the same results and they're not feeling good? And then just start exploring and open the door and find Jocelyn, and open the door and maybe find me, and open
Yes.
the door and find another resource, and open the door and tap into your resource,
Yes.
so that we, right, because we're
Yeah.
going to that age, can retire with all healthy and functional people around us.
Yes. Thank you, Julia.
Thank you so much, Jocelyn.
Yes. Namaste.
Namaste. You can stay there for a second.
Okay.
And I am going to